Hello everyone and welcome. We are being very busy in the garden today. We've got a great day and I've trimmed down these two beds which haven't been touched for about a year and a half, so they're completely overgrown with nettles and other weeds. And normally, yes, chop and drop is absolutely fantastic, but I'm afraid there are just too many seeds waiting to drop and repopulate the beds with weeds again. So this time I'm removing all the weeds that I've trimmed down. And this is because we want to restore the beds. Still got lots of work to do after our neighbour came and helped me with the hedge cutting. I'm still working at the back of the house, rearranging that. Honestly, I'm just all over the place doing bits here and there. And very fortunately, I have lots of horseradish in the garden, but these little bits were in this bed that I'm removing, so I was lucky to get a little bit of horseradish. But mainly the job at this moment is to get these veg beds restored to some kind of good condition and prepare them for winter. And I've got some little feathery friends here that have been helping, and two furry friends who are going to come to the beach with us, down to the shore rather, as we collect some seaweed. So there's lots of seaweed at this shoreline. It's just at the end of the road to us, but what we really want is the seaweed that's been thrown up by the storm. And remember, we had Ernesto just a week or so back, so there's a lot of seaweed has been thrown up here on the shore, on the coast, and it is starting to rot down, so it's just perfect. That's what we want. We've used seaweed, we always use seaweed, but it has been something that's used on the west coast of Ireland for, well, centuries. People have used this since they started growing potatoes, so we're going back 300 or 400 years, if not longer. And seaweed is just so nutritional and brings a lot of minerals to the soil. Now, some people wonder if we rinse it in water first, but we don't, because the salt on it is literally the mineral salts that we want for the veg beds. And as I've said on other videos, I don't think that my ancestors who did not have running water would have actually bothered rinsing it, so I don't. I just put it down. So the last couple of days you've seen what we've done here. Then we had to stop because of rain. So now I'm just going to spread some wool over the two beds here. And the reason we use wool is because it's a traditional way of re-mineralizing the soil. I mean, the seaweed does that as well. But because the soil here is shallow and it gets a lot of rain, which will wash nutrients out of it, I don't think there's any harm in kind of doubling up all our additives that are beneficial. So, I mean, this is absolutely, it's free. The farmers are giving it away because they can't sell it. So it's great to see something going to good use. And over the winter, it's going to act as a mulch as well to suppress weeds. Because remember, there were tons of weeds in this bed because it had been neglected for over a year. And so this is going to help restore it. But it's something that anyone can do at any stage of their gardening because it's just so beneficial. And when all of this is covered with wool, we're going to put chicken wire over the top, just temporarily to stop the chickens scratching away at the seaweed and the wool, because they'll be looking for little creepy crawlies and things to nibble on. So the reason we do this kind of rejuvenation to the soil is because in a garden like this, it's practically impossible to practice crop rotation. So you know the traditional way that people follow of, say, 4 beds, they use 3 and they keep one fallow and they rotate the crops. But even doing that, you're still putting one crop into one bed. And we never do that. Our beds are always completely mixed up with all kinds of different things. So there could be peas and beans next to kale, next to strawberries. When something is ready to be planted out, it just goes into the nearest spot. So our beds never really develop diseases that can really destroy one crop or another. So, brassicas have a tendency, if they're in the same bed all together, to develop clubfoot or club rot. So I think we just take care of the soil, and then it doesn't really matter where we put the different crops, because the soil is always refreshed, renewed, revitalized, and then it's less of a headache trying to remember which crop was in which bed last year, and So this is the way we do it anyway. It just feels like such a positive thing as well to harness all of these natural products, I suppose, these natural ways, things to use. It feels good that these are not going into landfill, they're going onto a veg bed, or they're not being burned, or whatever way they would get rid of it. And of course the seaweed is free because it just gets washed up after a storm. Hey, looks like it's been snowing. In early springtime, we were walking in the woods and we found a tent erected and sitting there under the trees, abandoned. And we didn't want to leave it because it's litter. But we brought it home and it's in quite good shape. It's just a cheap tent from a supermarket. So we had one night in it, and then we had to leave it up because we had 2 weeks of constant rain. And when we took it down, we noticed that all the grass it was on had died off. We've got a lovely patch of fresh earth that we can now sow our lawn into. And so we thought, we're going to use this rather than just bin it. We're going to use it here to do the same on this little patch here. And hopefully, come springtime, this will be completely new soil. All the grass and everything will have died off. And it's not plastic. It's not plastic, and I like that. It's a nylon, whatever it is. And it will just, get an extra lease of life doing this, and then we can discard it in springtime. So we'll secure this so that it doesn't blow away. And the ground sheet actually we're going to hold on to as well, because it's handy if you want to go to the beach for a day, or we could use it as a little tarpaulin over some other area of the garden. So it's great that we found the tent, because we're managing to recycle it into different uses rather than just leaving it to spoil the woodland or go straight into landfill. We're getting a few extra uses out of it, so it's a win-win to have found it. So that'll hopefully restore that. So the rest of these vegetable beds, I'm going to clean them out now. I've got some garlic here and a couple of beans, and then I'm going to hoe, and we're going to actually put some winter oats in these beds, because we'll get a small crop. Obviously not enough to sustain ourselves for the year, but we will get a small crop. But the point of the oats is that they will prevent soil erosion over winter, they suppress the weeds, and they actually add to soil fertility. And the beds are being used then over winter instead of just sitting here getting rained on and getting spoiled. So there's a lot of positives about growing oats. So there's a lot of work to do to get this ready. But once I've cleared it, we're going to put down some very, very well rotted manure, which will also replenish this bed and restore the nutrients, and then the oats will work away as well. And this is the perfect time now, because they will have a chance to get a good foundation before the winter comes. And the winter, we don't know what it's going to be like. It might be frosty, it might be very wet. So if we plant them now, end of August to mid-September, if we sow them now, they should be very well rooted by the time winter and all the winter storms come. So it's just a good way to use a veg bed and to get an extra crop and to help restore the soil as well. I've got a lovely dandelion here, so that's a bonus. Hey, look at the length of that, and that's not the whole thing. That's pulling up minerals from that deep all the way to the surface. And I've got some garlic to pull. I'll have to loosen it. There's one. Oh, there's a nice big one. And so it's harvest time, and it's time to prepare the bed. So here we've got a bed of turnips and beetroot, which have done really well. But I'm going to harvest these because I think the rain has been so intense and is likely to be intense again that it could cause them to rot. So I'm going to start pulling these out now. Oh, look, you can see some of our sheep's wool in here from last year. And look at all this chickweed, which is going to go in our salad tonight, I think. So there's a good sized one. And the small ones are delicious in stir fries. So that's it. Oh, that one's rotted actually. See, this one's rotted. See all the intense rain. That's why I'm harvesting them now. I don't want this to happen to the rest of them. So there we are. That's our method of restoring and rejuvenating our veg beds. So I'm going to continue on with this bed's harvest, continue on getting the garlic over there, and we'll see you next week. We'll show you what we're doing with the oats next week. See you. Bye-bye. Have a good one. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the Weed Handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.